Welcome to AI for Marketplaces, how to use and profit from new technology. It's really nice to see so many people signing up for this. It's a topic I'm quite passionate about, and I know you are too, Lars. Before we get started, I just want to quickly say I'm going to launch a poll now. Please answer it, and we will go through the results later in the webinar. I'm gonna, hopefully you guys can see it now, and feel free to answer that as soon as you can see it. The other thing I wanted to say is, as I said before to the people who are coming in a little bit late, we really want to hear your questions. In the right hand side, you should be able to see a menu where you can put in questions. We are going to answer them as we go, or at the end of the presentation, kind of where it fits the best. The other thing that I just need to mention is that we are recording this webinar, so we're going to send it out. You can share it with your colleagues or anyone else who are interested. And finally, after the webinar, we're going to send out what we call like a white paper checklist regarding this topic as well. So make sure you check your emails for that. And I'm just gonna, I see that people are still filling out the poll, so I'm gonna wait 2 seconds and then I'll make sure to close it down. Okay, let's move on to the presentation. Thank you. And as I said, we're going to have a look at the results later on. So, first and foremost, let's introduce us. We're gonna keep this very short. Lars, do you want to start?
Yes, I can start. Lars Schön. I'm country director for giosg in Sweden, and that's include even Norway and Denmark. We are a Finnish company working with our customer engagement platform. We'll give you an example later in the presentation what we're doing and what we're doing in coming to AI.
Yeah, and I'm thank you, and I'm Sigrid. I'm the global marketing manager at Bezedo. We help marketplaces grow through technology like AI, automation, and with content moderation as our strategy. We've been working with content moderation globally for the last, I think it's 16 years now, helping marketplaces of all sizes get better quality content. So we will also maybe go into that a little bit further. We don't want to get too producty. So super glad to see so many people actually was interested in this. And before we kind of jump into the meat of the presentation, I just wanted to make sure that we're all kind of on the same page in terms of what AI is and what AI isn't. And when I was preparing for this presentation, it was actually quite funny because I was sitting around and I was like, how can I really, we've been talking about AI for ages. I remember growing up and we were talking about AI and, you know, Terminator and Skynet and stuff like that. And how can we make this explanation about why AI has suddenly become super important? So I did something, I don't know about you, Lars, but I can get lost in Google Trends forever because I think it's super fun to kind of compare trends. And I went in and I put in artificial intelligence in one search term and machine learning as the other one. And I got this graph, which I think is quite telling. So AI is kind of an umbrella term for everything. And AI to me has always been a little bit sci-fi. It's obviously it's important and everyone knows that you have to have AI in 2018 to actually compete. But it's kind of like a fluffy term. And if you can see here on the graph, in 2016, something happened. Machine learning overtook AI. And I think the reason for this is that in 2016, AI became something that was actually tangible. It became something that you could actually apply. And that meant that people went from looking into AI to actually looking into applications of AI. And machine learning is obviously one of the ways that you apply AI. It's actually a field of study. It's something that you can take and you can use it, and it makes it much more real rather than AI, which is just such a fluffy term, and everyone is throwing it around, and no one really know what people mean when they talk about AI. So I thought this was really interesting. And the funny thing is, I was then researching, okay, so what was it that happened in 2016? Because even though I lived through it, it was hard to kind of remember with all of the talk that has been about AI over the last couple of years. And one of the things was that AlphaGo actually managed to beat the world champion at Go. And I think that's when people started to see, okay, machines can actually do a lot of the tasks that humans do. So I thought that was really interesting to kick it off there. And this one is actually also interesting because we have a lot of different ways that you can say AI, and AI is a lot of things if you listen to and you read the news. But what is it and what is it not? Like, a lot of AI is just basic rules, right, Lars? Or a lot of what people call AI is basic rules.
Yeah, I mean, what we are doing is a good example. The distinction between manual rules and real AI is very clear. I mean, we're targeting visitors on websites, and we can do that two ways. We can do it that we define the journey to the goal, that we have manual rules, we set them up. Or we can using real AI, machine learning, that we define the goal and let the machines take us to the goal. So that's a really good example there. AI, the distinction between manual rules and AI is very, very clear in what we are doing. And the precision and the quality when it's coming to what output from AI-based targeting is much higher compared with manual-based targeting.
Yeah, because I feel that this is a little bit of, because it becomes such a buzzword, a lot of people are just throwing out, okay, we have AI, when it's in reality, it's just highly sophisticated automation. I mean, we can do highly sophisticated automation with our tool Implio, but it's not AI, it's really, really complex rule set that is super helpful. But we can also do AI, which is something that we actually build on data sets. And that's the huge difference. You know, there's a quote here from Tech Target: AI is the simulation of human intelligent processes by machines. And I think it's good to kind of have that definition in place. So now that we have that, there's a ton of different ways that AI can be applied, and I think a lot of people have already heard how it can be applied in medicine to, you know, find cancer cells, etc., etc. But we wanted to talk about how you can use it in a marketplace environment and how it can benefit marketplaces, because a lot of the processes we have can actually be replaced by AI. So we obviously are going to focus on what we are talking about and what we are good at. So for us at Besato, it's optimized content, and for giosg, it's intelligent chat. But just know that there's extreme personalization built on data sets. There's search recommendations. There's a lot of different alternatives out there that you can look into, and depending on where your needs are, there's most likely going to be a vendor that can actually help you set that up. And I think, you know, it's one of those cases, I don't know if you agree, Lars, where it's your creativity that kind of sets the limit to where AI can be applied.
The example, what we are doing in coming to AI is based on what the value we create for our customers is that we working with real-time analytics, a platform for real-time analytics. And what we combine analytic data with AI and future-rich technology to provide intuitive solution that deliver the right online trigger to the right person, the right visitor on the site on the right time. Meaning that all interactions like chat or other automated interaction should be meaningful and relevant for the visitors. No general spamming that chat asking, hey, can I help you with something? Meaningful, meaning that every interaction have in consideration what the visitor are interested in. And the way we do that is, as I described before, we tracking the visitor on the site. And the normal way to do it is to create rules that we need to follow, specific visitor with a specific interest on the site, etc. And for that we create manual rules. And the other way we do it is that we define the goals and the machines take care of the processing of the analytic data. So there is AI for us very valuable and extremely effective when it's coming to result and quality.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's the same for us when we do content moderation setup. So one way of doing it is obviously set a lot of rules and saying, I don't want ads with X, Y, and Z words in it, for instance, or from X, Y, and Z IP. But the other way is to just take a data set that you have done when you have moderated ads and said, no, I don't want this type of ad. I do want this type of ad. And the data set can then be fed into the models, and they will then learn what it's actually finding good content that you think is good content and what is bad content. And obviously it requires a high quality data set to then feed it and train the models. But once you have that in place and you feed it in, you should have really, really, really good quality content coming out on the other side. And it will be an optimization of the processes. So if you wanted to just quickly talk about a case study you have here with XXL.
We have a good example of from the Nordic sport retailer XXL Norwegian. There we A/B tested our AI-powered targeting against manual targeting, and saw that almost 7% increased in sales between these two groups. Conversion rate for a retailer like XXL is normally between 1% and 3%. Every buyer, there are 30 to 100 visitors that just can buy and ended up by buying nothing. So that's the normal situation for this sort of retailer. They have more than 1 million visits during the pilot's 3 months. We're running the pilot with them. So over this 3 months, it was over 1 million visitors. Conversion rate for all targeted group was 6.6% higher than the group that using manual targeting. The AI proceed data has superior precision compared to the manual targeting. So the quality of the precision was much higher. So 6.6% was the difference between the group with the manual created rules compared with the group that using AI-based targeting. So that's very clear figures coming out from this.
Yeah, so we have these numbers here, and it's huge. I mean, I don't know how much they are selling for per customer and what the individual customer value is, but just imagine yourself if you could have your conversion rate increased by 6.6. That's by just implementing a technology, which might even be saving you time as well.
So in this example, we are comparing the two groups, manual created rules and the AI-based targeting, just to see that the AI targeting work, and you have a higher precision and a higher quality with the machine processed data compared with the manual handling. So that's very clear statistics coming out from this.
I have an example as well, just to give you guys a feel for how AI can help with your content moderation. And again, as I said, these are just like we just have 2 different solutions for AI, but there's a ton out there. So really think through where is it that I could benefit from applying AI. But just to give you an idea here, we worked with a site called Anibus, and they started out having no automation whatsoever. So what we started doing was that we used our tool Implio, which has, as I said before, quite sophisticated rules that you can set up, and applying that in itself, which is not AI, by the way, it's super good, but it's not AI, that got them to around 40% automation of their content. So before, they were able to only moderate 10% of their listings because they were relying on manual work. Then we implemented Implio and some really good filters for them, and they could take that number to 40%. But then we actually wanted to get it all the way to 100%, of course. and that demanded some AI, because being able to catch everything. So after implementing the AI solution on top of the filters, actually able to moderate 100% of their listings. And as you can see, there's some other good numbers here. They took their fraud blocks from 15% to 85%, and considering the fact that I think it's about half of people who see a fraud on the site are unlikely to return, you can understand that that's really good for retention, to make sure that that you have clean content on the site. And another thing, which is also kind of talking to the people who are listening in who likes cost savings and user experience, which I hope all of you do, is that the number of reported listings, so basically when people on the site meet something that they don't like seeing and report it, it went down to 60% actually. So all of this together ensured that they had a lot better content on the site. But another thing that they said was that they couldn't really have done this on their own. Like it was very resource demanding, and if they would have had to build this up for themselves, they wouldn't have gotten a better solution. They would just have to sink in more resources into the project. So they were quite happy with that. And I think, just going back quickly to say, I think it's really good to be able to actually have some concrete thoughts about how you could apply AI in your business. And as I said again, it doesn't have to be these two solutions, but just think creatively, where in our kind of company could we apply AI to actually increase conversion, increase retention, make the user journey smoother or more engaging. And I think that's where you really have to think about AI. Again, when I was researching for this this presentation, I was looking around to see, okay, so if we're going to sit here and talk about AI, we also need to give you guys some sort of idea on how you proceed from the point where you say, okay, we understand it, we get it, we should think about AI, we have a couple of places we want to implement AI, but what's the next step? Because again, AI is such a fluffy term, and it can be a little bit confusing and hard to figure out how to take yourself from no AI to AI. And actually, I think this is a good place. I don't know if you agree, Lars, to just reveal the poll and share the results here.
Yeah.
So I just shared the results with everyone, and I think it's interesting that, or I'm happy to see at least that no one is saying, no, we're not going to implement AI. I would have been surprised as well that you were attending a webinar about AI and going, no, that's not for me. But it's also interesting that there's 20% who actually have multiple AI solutions implemented already. I don't know what you think about that, Lars.
I think it's normal. Isn't this a view of how it looks today? I think the majority out there just researching right now. I think that's the current situation, that many researching for a solution and what AI can do for them or for us. That's the question many of us asking to us. How can I use it?
Yeah, and I know, I mean, even internally in our company, we are sitting thinking, okay, so how could we optimize processes with AI? So it's not weird, but it's good to see that people at least have come to the stage where, yes, we know we need AI in some shape or form. Now we just need to understand which AI we should take as the first step, and then continue from there. So I'm gonna just hide the results again so you guys can see us. So as I said, I was researching this and we were sitting and we were talking about, so what should you actually think about? Because it's, of course you can build your own AI. It's totally feasible if you have the resources to do that. But before you kind of go into that discussion, I think it's really important that you sit down and ask yourself these 3 questions. And again, as I said in the beginning, we're going to send out a white paper that is going to go a little bit more into details with questions you can ask yourself before you take this decision. But first of all, are you going to reinvent the wheel? I think it's something people kind of forget to ask themselves. Think about this. If you need customer support, you are probably unlikely to go, okay, I'm going to build my own customer support tool or my own help desk. You're probably going to go, okay, so which help desk has the best recommendations? Which help desk is the cheapest? Which help desk? You're going to go to Google and you're going to find a company who can actually provide you with a help desk. Very few companies are going to create their own help desk. And I think you kind of have to think the same with AI. Okay, if there's already an alternative out there that does what I need, then why should I spend the resources on building it? This second thing you need to think about is, do I have the resources in-house to actually pull this off? And think about the fact that it's not just a matter of having developers, because as I mentioned before, machine learning is like a field of study in itself, and so are linguistics, data analysts. All of that it requires specific expertise. So if you have that in-house already and you can spare the resources and you can say yes to all of the other things, then maybe it's a feasible project to kind of launch yourself into. But I don't know about you. I have a colleague, or a previous colleague who works in HR, and she always comes to me and complains about how hard it is to hire developers. So if you have to actually build up that tool from scratch, maybe it's not feasible. And then another thing, and it kind of stems or combines with this quote over here. Do you also have the resources to maintain the AI? Because even though AI is an automation system, it still needs some sort of maintenance. It still needs to update the models every now and again. You still need to retrain it once every, I don't know, 3 months or half a year. You still need to have some level of maintenance there. And as Peter Reinhardt, who is the co-founder of Segment and has worked in a lot of business, and he has been an angel investor, so he has a lot of understanding of startup companies. He says that 50% of them actually fail because they can't maintain the tools that they have built. So again, if you're absolutely certain that you can maintain and create it, maybe you should build it yourself. But otherwise, look at alternatives. Can you buy it? And then finally, and this I think is the most important thing to answer: is it going to be a competitive advantage that you build it yourself? Is it going to have a USP for your actual product, your core product, that will set you apart from the competitors? If not, again, if you are a call center, you need a telephone line that is working, but you're not going to be a competitive advantage to have a call center line that's working. It's not like you're going to say to potential customers, go with us because you can call us. That's not a competitive advantage, even though it's a really, really important business need. So think about that. Is it going to actually set you apart from your competitors to have this AI that you're developing yourself? Or is it something that you really, really need, that is super, super important, but you don't need it to be different from a competitor A, B, C, or D? So these are the 3 things that I think you should think about before you decide. And I'll leave it to you, Lars, because I know we have this really, really good quadrant here, and that is also helpful in taking that decision.
Yeah, this is just a way to describe 4 ways to approach the decision around to build or buy choice. It's possible to work with AI vendors in many ways, from outsourcing an entire process to buying selected services, seeking help in building in-house solutions, or training internal staff. What executives should view these options in light of 2 questions. How valuable is the process or offering to your future success? And how strong is your ownership, control, or access to high quality, unique data relative to the AI vendor? This is 2 important questions in this decision process. By analyzing the AI landscape in this way, you will discover that the AI efforts land in one of 4 groups. While the boundaries may be fused, the assessment may shift over time. Each of these groups share similar sets of challenges and opportunities. Starting down in the left corner with commodities, this area is the closest to an, let's call it, off-the-shelf solution and a great entry portal into AI for most of all of us. If you move over to the hidden opportunities, sometimes you have access to data sources in areas that are not competition critically. Publicly sharing data with others can open up opportunities for collaboration that multiply values of your projects. This arrangement could be exclusive, or several companies could work on a data sharing pool with one vendor. That's two ways to do it. If you look to the danger zones, what we're calling danger zones in this model, danger zones pose both perils and opportunities. The perils arise because vendors have better access to data than the companies themselves in strategically critical areas. Companies in similar situations should have data acquisition strategies that will support their AI activities. The last part here is the gold mine. If you have a gold mine, consider controlling AI by yourself. Vendors and experts in this situation can be brought in to accelerate development, but only in supportive roles. So that's four different situations. I think that most of us can mapping in ourselves and see where we can have our starting point. The commodities, of course, that's the easiest starting point to use. There we can use off-the-shelf solution. Yes, Sigrid.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I just wanted to pop in because I was really this kind of quadrant. It stems from an article that I found really interesting as well. So if anyone here are interested in actually reading through the entire article as well, you can let me know. You ask a question at the right hand side, and I'm gonna share the link with you in the mail we send out afterwards. But just let me know if you're interested in that, because I was actually it's part of like a longer article on why you should build or why you should buy, and I found that really helpful actually. So thank you.
It's a really good article, so I can really recommend you to read it. It's described it in a good way.
Yeah. So let me know, and I'll send it out to you after this webinar. So that kind of starts to wrap it up. Before we go into questions, and again, if you have any questions, I can see a few has come in already, but feel free to ask more. I don't know how much we will have time for. We will try to get through all of them. So before we wrap up with the questions, do you have a takeaway you want people to take from this webinar? Yes. Everyone who has said that they want the link will also get it. Thank you. Lars?
Yeah, you hand over to me. Sorry. Yeah, my conclusions is more. This is not a sensation recommendation. It's more to look to this as your normal look to when you have planning implementation of new technology. As always, to define a very clear target and a vision of what you want to build up with the AI technology. Use a realistic and a very clear plan how you will do it. Ensure even that AI works and adds values for the current application. This is what we try to give an example from the XXL case, that we really need to ask ourselves, will AI be better in this case compared with the traditional manual way to set up these rules? In the XXL case, it was very clear. But I must say, it's not the same in all cases. It's not. And develop the use of AI step by step. Don't do the big bang when it's coming to this. learn it by try to do it step by step and learning from your experience. That's my conclusions of it.
I think that's really smart. And once you then know how you want to use AI to grow your business, then I think that for me the main takeaway is to really take some time to analyze and go over kind of the pros and cons of how you're going to take that next step, whether you build it or buy it. I really like to return to, the idea about business needs, like things that you need in order to function as a business and to deliver the services to your customers, and then USPs, the things that set your core product apart from your competitors. And if AI does not fall into this category of things that are setting you apart from your competitors, if it falls into the business needs, then most likely you're better off actually finding some off-the-shelf solution, or even what we do with some of our customers, we tailor make the AI to them so it fits them perfectly, but still they don't have to go through all of the processes of developing models and thinking about that. And we have a lot of experience, and it took some time for us to actually get that experience. We have a team in place. So definitely, if it's gonna set you apart from the competitors, if no one else has this, you should make that part of your core product and you develop it yourself, because that's gonna be your selling point. Otherwise, really think and really research to see if there's an available option out there already in place. It's gonna save you money in the end. And with that, I want to go to questions, because it's actually a really good bridge. We have a question from Simon, who asks if we know of any AI solutions for automatic categorization of user uploaded marketplace listings. Now I'm gonna go out on a limb here, Simon, and I might be wrong, but as you saw, we mentioned Styria before. They have recommendation technology. It's possible that they also have something with categorization. I had a conversation with them some month ago where they were talking about categorization, but I don't know how far they are with that. But you could give them, otherwise, of course, there are ways to go about it. We spend a lot of what we do for customers is that we are recategorizing, or at least making sure that there's no wrong items in the wrong categories. So that's something that we do both with filters and with manual work as well. So there's ways to solve it, but I understand that you want something that actually suggests some sort of categorization. Sorry, so you missed the name of the vendor. So the name was Styria, but again, I can send you the name afterwards. There's another one here. Is it possible to customize your services? If so, how much? I don't actually know if this is for us or for you, Lars. Do you want to start?
Yeah, if I understand the question right, customize our services in terms of what? Generally, I can answer yes. In what we are doing, it can be fully customized when it's coming to configuration of the rules and the AI targeting that we are using in our services. I mean, the whole idea is to build this on condition that are unique for every customer and every website. So that's a part of what we are doing, that we do it unique for every situation and every customer.
Yeah, and I don't know. From our point, it really depends. Like, we have what we call image and text vision, or we have a text vision where it's more kind of a generic approach. But then what we usually apply to customers, and what we did in the Anibus case study, was that we will take your data set, we'll build models for it, and we will customize it completely to your services. So in that sense, it's very customized, it's very tailor-made. and I actually the same we can do for filter. We have a filter management service. I know it's not AI, but we also have a filter management service where we can go in and we will actually create the exact rules that you want and optimize it to you. So there's a lot of like you don't have to worry about just getting like a one size fit all solution, because it works to an extent, but it's never going to be good enough for most companies. At least when you scale. You need something that's more customized. There was another question here by Ken, but it's kind of in the same line. If I develop the AI in-house, I'll build the solution for my site-specific needs. Why would buying AI be a better alternative? And from my end, again, we don't really know if it's going to be a better alternative. That's something that you really have to sit down and find out yourself. But in many cases, it probably will be. As I said before, we have a lot of experience. We have worked with a lot of different sized marketplaces. We've learned a lot from that. We're experts in building this. And our models are actually tailor-made specifically for marketplaces, which means that it's more tight. It basically works better. And then on top of that, as mentioned, you can get it tailor-made and customized so it actually fits your needs exactly. And I don't know if that's the same kind of answer you want to give.
And remember, even that when you're buying even experience and a partnership. And as when it coming to future scalability, you have even great values to bring if you buy from a vendor. So even if you can do it by yourself, think once or twice before, because a partnership can be really important when it comes to this type of application and technology.
Yeah. I think we have time for one last question, even though we've gone a little bit over time. But there's one from Catherine here. You've been talking about how to use AI in marketplaces, but how much work is it to implement your services? And I think that's something people worry a lot about, especially since one of the things you should consider is the amount of resources you have to dedicate for when you are actually developing yourself. So if you have to spend a lot of resources developing it or actually integrating with it, obviously you're not going to save as much time, even though you're getting the other benefits, as you said, the expertise. From our end, I don't want to say anything like crazy because I need to check with our tech team, but I do believe that once the models are done, the actual API integration is depending on how hard it is to integrate with your back office. I would say a week or two maximum, maybe even a day, if it's a good connection. I don't know what your response is to this last.
No, I mean, the implementation is normally not a big IT project. This is standardized and the configuration and IT implementation is normally easy part of it. That's not the big thing, not even when it's coming to costs. It's very standardized.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same from our end. I think my tech guys are probably going to be angry with me for overestimating the time. I just don't want to to say something that is too little. But my general understanding is that that's not the holdback. That's not the holdback at all. Okay, I think we have to wrap it up now. We're a little bit over time. Here's some contact details. If you have any questions to us, you can send this. I can see we have hi@besedo.com for me, but you can also send it to sigrid.soiden@besedo.com and connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, etc., etc. And if you have any questions that you didn't actually have the time to ask now, feel free to send them to us afterwards, and we will be happy to answer them. What we usually do actually is that we create a blog post after the fact where we answer the questions that we didn't have time to, so we can fit your questions in there as well. I think that's it. Thank you so much for joining me, Lars.
Thank you, everyone, for your time.
And thank you guys for watching. We are going to have another webinar here at Besedo in a couple of weeks, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that, where we will invite other industry experts, but we will send out invitations, so you can sign up if you're interested. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.